Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom Into Wine. It's time for the show and your host, Ian Blackburn.
Okay. Yo tengo un vino en la mente que aún no lo he hecho.
Bueno,
pero
cuando lo hagas yo lo quiero beber.
sí, a lo mejor algún día.
Estamos en una viña de Mencia muy vieja, como veis, con un suelo muy pobre, con mucho canto rodado y arcilloso y canto rodado, un suelo pobre y una viña centenaria. La Mencia es una variedad autóctona del Bierzo y con unas propiedades muy características. Nos encontramos con una variedad noble que para mucha gente todavía es desconocida, pero que poco a poco se va haciendo un sitio en el mercado nacional y mundial. En principio, cuando empezábamos con las bodegas, que nos parecía que a lo mejor con la Mencia solo no podríamos y tal, sin embargo, ella sola se va para adelante y nos ha hecho cambiar de opinión. No es que nosotros hayamos querido cambiar de opinión y proteger mucho la Mencia, es que la Mencia tiene una fuerza en el mercado internacional ya ahora mismo y ya exige que le dediquemos todo lo que esté de nuestra parte.
Es una variedad diferente porque no está plantada en muchos sitios, bueno, sí que tiene su superficie, pero no es una cantidad de terreno, no es una extensión muy grande de terreno. A la gente que la prueba, que no la conoce, le sorprende muchísimo, porque es una variedad pues fuerte, como dice, si se elabora bien, si haces las cosas correctamente. Es una variedad pues con mucha expresión, muy fuerte.
Una Mencia que da una calidad muy buena en viñedos viejos o en viñedos nuevos, si se descargan y se cogen a pocos kilos, da mucha calidad.
También es cierto que no es lo mismo una viña joven que una viña vieja o con más o menos edad, porque las suyas son centenarias, pero las mías son, vamos, casi recién nacidas. Y entonces sí que es diferente, pero no deja de tener ese punto de conexión que es pues la estructura y la fuerza.
Es sorpresiva en públicos que están acostumbrados a las variedades internacionales, como puede ser Cabernet, Syrah, Merlot. Cuando ven una Mencia y es buena, impacta.
Sí. Y también va bien, pero la verdad que extractos de raíz nunca...
Entonces aquí sí que tenemos una base de viñedos suficientemente buenos como para hacer las cosas bien y crecer sobre esa base.
Y lo que hacemos las nuevas generaciones, la gente que como él lleva mucho tiempo y si lleva mucho tiempo aquí es porque confía en lo que hay y sabe hacerlo. El compartir una misma idea y el desarrollar todos la misma idea es importante. Pues se ha ido cambiando las generaciones y los que estamos ahora seguimos con la misma idea porque creo que hay cosas que nunca cambian. Todos queremos hacer un vino bueno centrándonos en el Bierzo, promocionando el Bierzo que tanto queremos y centrándonos, nosotros solo hacemos tintos ahora mismo y centrándonos en la Mencia porque es lo nuestro.
La calidad es extraordinaria, yo por eso confío y estoy absolutamente convencido de que la Mencia tiene un potencial inmenso y que se va a imponer en todos los sitios donde vaya, siempre que se hayan hecho las cosas bien en campo y en bodega.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me for my little look into the grape variety Mencia. And it is really exciting to be able to share this opportunity with you to taste a couple really great wines. And we've got a really nice group of people that have gathered tonight. I want to welcome you all from wherever you may be. This is not the most common grape variety that we will talk about, but one of my favorites. I have been paying a lot of attention to this grape variety for a while, and when I visit the right restaurants that have, or used to spend a little bit more time doing that than recently, but up in Santa Barbara, I went to a little tapas place recently, and they had a really nice developed Spanish wine program, and I was able to learn about a couple more producers. And this is a grape variety that I've really enjoyed for about a decade, and I've been watching it kind of position itself. We've got a variety of different price points. We're tasting today a couple of really nice values in the category, and I hope you agree with that by the end of the tasting. But there are wines that go into the $100, $200, $300 range because this is a pretty exciting category, and they're really starting to take position and elevate it like it's great wine. And you wouldn't waste your time doing that if they didn't really believe in it. And so I'm really excited to share these with you and welcome you guys to the program. My name is Ian Blackburn, and I am a wine educator, and I used to do this in person, but we converted to Zoom because we believe we can get the wine out to more places, and I'm going to stay here. So I'm really hoping that you guys will stay with us as the world opens up. We're excited about that too. But we really enjoy being able to taste with you in your home, not having to pull you all the way into downtown LA for a tasting, or Beverly Hills and spend $20 on valet. We can do it with you anywhere you want, and we deliver the wines to you as well. Tasting kits or bottles. Tonight we're doing 2 different bottles, and I think it's a testament to the quality of this grape variety, and also the quality of Spanish wines in general. I'm able to bring in some Spanish wines that are just really, really over delivering, and this to represent that idea. So let's take a look. We're going to go to Mencia. Someone's crunching on the video. There you go. Let's take a look at this event that we've got here tonight, so you can see the 2 bottlings. I may have sent out the bottlings. I don't think I put any numbers on them. We're going to start with our 2013 bottling from Godella, and then we'll go to the descendants of Palacios, the Petalos, and so this will be 1, and this will be 2. Okay. And let me clear that up. All right. And I've got this really cool slideshow for you. And if you want to get a little bit of wine in your glass, wine number 1. This is a wine of place. The place is Bierzo or Bersco, depending on how you want to read that label. But speaking in Basque, you want to say with a K where there's a Z, Bersco. And Mencia with a heavy th, not Mencia, but Mencia. I've been corrected a million times to get to that point, but okay, I'm getting warned that your bottle may be a little reduced. What does that mean? That the screw cap maybe needs a little bit of time in the bottle. So we'll taste it first, and then we'll come back to it at the end. And I want you to see how this wine changes, and maybe that reduction or lack of oxygen that's kind of suffocated the nose of this wine down a little bit. It's reduced it down to a point where it maybe smells a little synthetic or not as open as it could be. So we'll see what happens. But I have had many bottles of this 13, and I really enjoy it, and I hope you guys do too. I think that the age being able to find a wine in this market from this rare grape variety that's a 13 at a value, and it's also kind of its dense, fleshy richness. This is a serious offering. Less than $20 for our first wine. And wine number 2, just a little bit more. You can find it pretty competitively priced because this is a pretty strong brand, and a lot of people, this is the wine that they're going to find. There's a lot of small little Spanish importers that carry Mencia wines that are less important, with a little less branding, a little less notoriety. But these two have a very good stakehold in this program, so I hope you guys enjoy. All right, so I'm hearing that the after decantation of the older wine, it's really, really special. So get a little more in that glass and let's let it open up, maybe swirl it around a little bit and give it 10 minutes. But we've got a little bit of presentation to get through, so let's do that. First of all, how many of you guys have been to Spain? Yeah, awesome. Love going to Spain. I can't wait. I think it's going to be one of the first places I go when I'm able to travel again. Trying to decide that right now. I'm looking at early 22 as a possible time to get out of here. And I may never come back. I don't know. But we'll see. But we'll go to... we're going to go to Madrid to get to where we're going to go. You either fly into Madrid or you're flying into Barcelona. If you go either place, you can kind of commute around. Pretty interesting movie called The Way. I think that was the name of it. If anybody remember the name of the movie, you could paste it in the chat box. But pretty cool story about this long walk that they have, this kind of forever walk, and it's up across here, and I think it goes right through here. Santiago de Compostela. I'm butchering that, sorry. But this is the walk all the way to here. It's kind of a religious pilgrimage. I think it starts in Germany, and they hike for months to get there. It's like a pilgrimage to find yourself, a journey. And so you might be walking right by Castile and Leon, which is where this kind of grape variety thrives. They do, by the way, grow this grape variety in parts of Portugal. The grape is pronounced Jaen, Jaen. But this is where they're really, really isolating on up here in our section 10 here in Bierzo. Another look at some of the local attractions. So this is now a DOP, and the red grape variety Mencia and Alicante Boucher are in this DOP, and I've been having a good success with Godello wines from this area as well. In fact, many of the producers of Mencia also make Godello under the same name. Here's a look at our grape clusters. Mencia. And on initial impact, I see this color, and it's got a little more richness in the color, density in the color than, say, Pinot Noir. Probably kind of leans into kind of a Rhone category in its color. Something like Grenache, something like Alicante. Well, probably not as dark as Alicante, but Grenache certainly, maybe Cinsault, maybe some other Rhone varieties. And it's also been kind of thought maybe there's a relation in this grape variety to Cabernet Franc. And they did some research and they could not make that connection. So this is a grape variety all into its own. It's not from something else. And our first version from this particular bodega, 30-year-old vines, clay and pebbles, about 500 to 700 feet in elevation, and 4 months on its fine lees. So this wine fermented, left probably in very neutral wood, especially at the price point of this particular version. And then as the solids fall to the bottom, those are allowed to remain to give the wine a little bit of depth and dimension. Let me just show a couple more slides before I start to taste this wine. Really want you to kind of take yourself here, because I really believe you have to kind of understand this kind of feeling of this place, this rustic, rugged, hilly zone, more grapevines than people. You're talking about some plantings that are pretty historic, a lot of older vine spots, a lot of hillside spots. In fact, they're really believing in the future of this grape variety at with a little bit of elevation to kind of stress its yields. Some of the comments I've heard are that it can crop pretty heavy, but if you put it on a hillside, give it a little bit of spatial competition, a little suffrage, if you will, in the vineyard, lower the yields, you really amplify the quality. And a lot of the people I'm talking to are, kind of comparing it to other places that have a lot of interesting minerality like granite and schist and unique stone. Things that you might find in Priorat are also here in Bierzo. These vines, untrained, untrellised, bush vines, dry farmed, no irrigation, and just look at that stone and how influential it is in the vineyard. Little video.
Vendimiamos tradicionalmente, como siempre, como toda la vida, a mano.
Okay, that's pretty authentic. It was right from our producer. And another couple of shots. We got a lot more pictures than information from the winery. They're not as web savvy, but they did make a couple of videos, just one more. Hope you don't mind the music because I can't turn it off. She's making the wine that you're tasting tonight. And Vincent Garcia is the CEO of this producer. And before we start talking about the descendants, let's taste this wine number one and see what you guys think. How are you doing, Susan?
You're doing very well, thank you.
Excellent. Teresa, good to see you. It's been a little while. Maybe you were with us for Napa. I can't remember. I drank a lot of wine that week.
No, but I watched the one with the film, and I've done a lot of Facebook because then I don't have to put on makeup and get ready.
Well, very cool. And are you guys in business at the restaurant? You guys working it? I'm trying to remember. Teresa, you're not at a restaurant, are you?
No, I'm an independent bookkeeper. I have restaurant clients, but I'm a bookkeeper.
That's what it is. Okay. Hector, how are you tonight, buddy? Good? Coming at you next, Lauren. How's San Diego treating you, buddy?
Oh, it's good. It's funny. I'm doing WSET 3 now, and I just happened to do Spain like last week. It was amazing. Perfect timing.
Very cool. David Gay is there in the middle of my screen, and he's also studying. Are you on 3, David, or 2?
Yeah, it's a beast. It's Lauren. It's connecting the dots is a bit tough, but it's starting to make sense.
David, where are you doing your 3?
Napa.
Okay. I do Peter Neptune down in Orange County because I'm doing it in person. I can actually drive up there.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm supposed to write the exam in late June, but today I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be ready. There's a lot.
Peter, this is a university level class. Don't get the idea.
It's crazy.
It is. Oh, it's insane. Well, good. We should talk. We should talk.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, please.
I'll send you a message on LinkedIn. We'll get your contact info.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, 4, and then you get through 4, you're basically right there studying for the Master of Wine, and this is the big bridge from being a regular consumer to being an academic in wine. So they're gonna make it tough. All right, Jim Hughes, good to see you on the Zoom. Peter Work, winemaker from Santa Barbara, also on the Zoom with us tonight and giving me some good feedback. I appreciate it, Peter. And Lisa Test in Santa Monica. Hi, Christine. Good to see you. I could not hear you, but it looks like you were introducing your friend. And good evening.
Yeah, we're still talking about your Coretta port from the other night.
Yeah, that was pretty special, man.
Pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, we had a really good show the other night, tasting some fortified wines with a bunch of wine experts. And I think today's the last day you get to see the movie. If you're interested, let me know. But I spoke to a group of producers many years ago, and they I've done that many times and never usually makes the movie, but they put a bunch of it in the movie. So I was really flattered and honored because it's a beautiful film. It's winning a lot of awards. It's called A Perfect Vintage, and they're obviously trying to sell the film right now in the film circuit, showing it in different award ceremonies and stuff, but it's collecting a bunch of medals, and we'll see. But if you want to see it, it's at the Sonoma County, I think it's called the Sonoma International Film Festival, and have a little discount code tonight. I could send it out with the gift bag. I'll do that for everybody that's on this Zoom if you want to check it out. It's called Perfect Vintage. It's about wine, and it's really got some great cinematography, amazing interviews with a bunch of different wine people, and pretty nicely done. So I think you'll enjoy. All right, so our first wine, as we take a look at the color, I think it's hard to tell by looking at the color its age. It's got a little bit of a brick density to it. Maybe if you compare it to the younger wine, if you've got both poured in the glass at the same time, you'll see a little bit of a clouding in this first wine, unfined, unfiltered, and really, minimalist in intervention in winemaking. Very much about the place. You saw some of the pictures of these people, and you can tell they're very dedicated to showing the typicity of the appellation and the varietal. And so I'd love to get some comments about what you're smelling, tasting, feeling about this wine. Jim,
We loved it.
All right. Who was that?
We loved
Listen. Good.
We started out with hors d'oeuvres and paella, and we decided to save the half of each bottle for the tasting and drink the other half of their dinner, and it's really gone well with the food. Excellent.
That's I'm glad that you planned to do it right. That's fun. And yeah, the food options here are pretty extensive. As I was researching it, I had a couple suggestions. Things like peppered tuna might be a nice item for this seared ahi tuna with pepper.
Nope.
Some charcuterie, which would be very consistent with the place, of course, here in northern Spain. You're going to eat your body and ham up in northern Spain. But I love the hints of minerality in the nose, telling you it's from a cooler place. You're picking up on some of those different stony notions. You're getting something that's got a little bit of depth in the color from anthocyanin, so a lot of pigment. You're getting some terpenes, giving you some of that floral character, some of that strawberry. Speaking to my academic students there, giving you some more language for your papers. But this is really what you can pick up in the nose of the wine. You can really tell here that you're looking at a wine that's typical to Spain, with that minerality, that ripeness level, that richness level. There's not a lot of alcohol coming off of either of these wines. They both have fairly restrained alcohols, around 13.5.
Well, we definitely opened the bottle and poured it in the glass and smelled it. We got the floral, and we got the fruit, and definitely tasted the minerality. So.
Yeah, and that's hard to do in a lot of other places in the world where this minerality is almost the front and center. So, if you start checking boxes and look for some things to smell and to taste, I think you can get to Spain pretty easily. Whether you get to this particular grape is not, that's a little more challenging. I'm not sure what funnel you're writing down trying to taste this wine and figure it out, but it's got a lot in common with grapes like Tempranillo. I think a lot of Graciano smells like this too. Some of the Rioja varieties. We're going to continue to expand our research and tasting a lot of interesting grape varieties over the coming months. At Zoom Into Wine, every Wednesday we feature a different winery, and every Saturday a different tasting activity. We're going to keep mixing it up, but I'm really having fun looking back now that we've been doing this about 9 months and seeing what we have done and trying not to repeat, but also to create some new content and new ideas. And so I'm really having fun with that. And I'm also, I've announced that we've finally, after 5 months of paying rent on 2 different buildings, we finally got approved by the ABC, because apparently every department in Los Angeles can work except for the ABC under COVID conditions. But they finally gave us the paperwork and we're able to move, and we've got a larger venue that will help us be able to grow our wine shop business. And I'm really excited about that, being able to, also for the safety of our team here, because the wine stacked a little high.
I was going to ask you a quick question, Ian. You mentioned earlier that you were going to continue these Zooms. Great. But are you going to do personal, restaurant tastings and things like that as well, or just strictly Zoom, or some of each?
Yeah, we'll see what the future brings, but I can tell you right now, I'm not doing any in-person stuff in 2021.
Okay.
It will be 2022 before I leave the state of California, just because I got a plan like 6 months out anyway.
No, that makes
sense. And unfortunately, I had to make some choices. Do we want to go for the larger wine shop space, and or keep the classroom element? But this classroom space is really a super premium, and they have been horrible, not wanting to work with us at all. So I've been very happy to turn in my paperwork to tell them that I'm leaving, and that's okay. But we're paying all of our bills, thank God, and we've been able to carve our way through this challenging time. And I really see a better business model for us. Learn About Wine's never made any money, but it's always been able to survive. And I think we could create a little a better business here for us with the retail connection. So we'll keep doing that, and I hope you guys will stay with us.
I've been really impressed how you've responded to COVID and been able to adapt your business to be able to be successful and survive in this. Some of my musicians friends have done the same thing. They thought they were going to die on the vine, and they were able to Zoom. They were able to do remote concerts. They were able to do a lot of things that not only have kept their customer base, but expanded it, because now they can go global, and I'm sure you're doing some of that too. You're getting a wider audience geographically.
Wider's for sure. It's definitely all about that, being able to be more convenient for people in many different places. But there are a lot of people that can't wait to do live events, and I'm totally supporting that. I'm going to be going out to restaurants myself as soon as it's right. But I also can only do so many things, and trying to do live events right now would just not be productive. So we'll get there.
I really enjoy the Zoom events. I think that it's a real treat not to have to drive downtown.
Yes, ma'am. Well, and seeing how lovely your home is, I think that you've got a really wonderful venue there. So
and we actually got out last weekend and drove up the coast and visited friends in Santa Barbara and Half Moon Bay, and we stopped at Peachy Canyon and at what was the other one? Oh, Beauregard. Had great picnics. We just had a lot of fun. So it was really nice that we're vaccinated. Really nice to get out and be able to do some moving around.
All right, cool.
Hey, even I wanted to suggest that the most amazing thing that's happened here in the last 6-8 months is the ability to get the winemakers on the Zoom for an hour or 20 minutes or something. They would never fly into San Diego or possibly LA, but they'll be glad to drop in a Zoom. I mean, this has been amazing. Remember the guy from Burgundy we had? 4 a.m. He's out there telling us about oils. I mean, that was just wonderful. Yeah. It was really cool. I think that will continue even beyond, my view, it's going to be a hybrid thing where it'll be live and the vintner will come in on the wall, he'll be on the screen and we'll hear him and he won't have to fly all the way to LA.
Yeah, we'll continue to invest in getting that kind of talent here tonight. I do have a video to show you when we get to wine number 2 from the importer, when we talk about the Palacios wine. But any more thoughts about the 13? How is it showing? Is it changing?
Awesome.
Yeah. Blackberries, amazing acidity for its age. White flowers, stones. Yeah, this is just a really cool. Oh, I like Jim Hughes' Spanish olives. I always notice that in the Spanish wine. If you can almost smell the outside the skin of a sun-drenched olive.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Not me.
Another chat reminding me it was Emilio Estevez that did the movie The Way, and you might want to check that out.
Awesome movie. It's really fun. And the book is really good too.
Yeah, it is.
The movie is based on it, which he wrote with his father, Martin Sheen.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was really nice. It was very sentimental and sweet, but also enlightening, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it's a great wine to if you're into food, travel, wine, certainly a lot of touches there too. We actually did a little screening of that film. For those of you might remember, in our classroom, Emilio came and said to the group, and he's been super supportive of our business and over the years, and he's even appeared at some of the tastings we used to do in Malibu called the Malibu Wine Classic. So,
I was there once. It was great.
Yeah.
See him though.
Very cool. All right. Well, I'm glad you like wine number one. This 2013. Let me just show it to you before we move on. Sorry, that's not queued up. But what I will do is click through our website and just show it to you real quick. To get there, I go here to regions, I go to Spain, and I look through the Spanish collection, or you could just go up to the search bar and put in Mencia. And there it is. $17.95.
Oh, wow.
Super little bottle, yeah. And 100% Mencia, Castilla y León, Bierzo, Spain. I want to give a little bit of props to these three zones that are very similar, very close by. Bierzo being the origin, but Ribera Sacra is also a very high quality Mencia Dio, as well as Valdeorras. So these are the three areas that you'll find Mencia grapes, and I hope you enjoyed that first selection. This wine,
hey, Ian,
yes, sir.
Quick question about this grape before you move on. Those are bush vines, correct? So they look like they're spaced further apart, which it's coastal, but there's said to be it's hot, so they're struggling for to get that intensity, right? So is that correct? They're low to the ground because it's hot and they struggle for the water nutrients. Is that correct?
Yeah, you especially dry farming, you don't want to put the vines too close together, where they're and especially if you're using any kind of hillside, you're not looking at much of a water table at all. So those vines will need plenty of space, especially as you move up onto the hillside spots. But the spatial competition, search for water, for life, and also probably a little bit of fact that some of these vines were planted so long ago that it would be disruptive to try to fix that. So you have not very many choices when you're looking at an old vine vineyard. But that's the way they used to do it a long time ago, and quite honestly, they had it pretty well nailed. But newer plantings, they tend to be looking for some little higher elevations, because the work was so difficult back then. They didn't go too high up on the hillside, but kept it on a little bit more flat and workable land. And now with more exploration of this grape variety, they're looking for more signature carved nuance, and they're getting that from higher zones up on the hillsides.
Hey, Ian,
Yes.
I was kind of surprised to see this with a screw cap. Is that something that's happening more and more on the red side?
You know, I got to be honest, I was a little surprised when that came in screw cap too, especially since the bottle I tasted from wasn't. But when I opened the screw cap, I was pleasantly surprised at the condition, especially for an older and lesser expensive red wine. I think it can help preserve some freshness. But as Peter pointed out, or someone pointed out earlier, there could be a little bit of reduction, and that's just because there's no passive air moving through that. You know, the screw cap industry continues to try to develop screw cap that maybe can have a little bit of that air permeation rate in the closure, but that's not exactly perfect science, especially when you're talking about winemakers trying to understand it and how much, you know, free oxygen do they put in the bottle, and how much air permeation do they need. It takes about 10 years to kind of figure it out and get it nailed. So I was a little surprised to see it on a 2013. They're pretty early.
Yeah.
And so, but the wine's drinking good. I really enjoyed it. I thought the price value was really strong.
Yeah, me too. When I saw Godelia, I thought, and a screw cap, I thought it was a Godeo white with a screw cap. And when I was kind of surprised when I actually poured it, I was like, oh, it's a red. But
I'm glad you had the same kind of pleasant surprise. I think that when the purveyor came to show me the wine, maybe they used a Corvin on a screw cap closure, and I wasn't paying close enough attention. But I'm sure it came out of a Corvin, and they do make Corvin screw cap closures now that work really well, by the way. So that is what I will say about our first wine. Again, slate and granite on this particular vineyard or selection. I think this is not a designation. There are wines that come from single designated vineyards, but this is a little bit more of a blend to create this generous style, lower price point, and at this level, stainless steel fermentation with time and neutral wood barrel. Okay, let's move to our second wine now and look back into our slideshow.
Let me do that. It's fine.
All right, and so as I first got it introduced to this particular grape, this was being imported by not a huge importer, but a little more prominent one. And the family here is pretty prominent, Palacios. They are very successful. They make some just absolutely top of the food chain level wines in Priorat. And the descendants of the Palacios family have invested here in Bierzo. And I went backwards, not forward. Hold on. And this is where they're really starting to test out a little bit more altitude. And they found a couple of older vine sites to invest in, rehabilitate. If you look at that hillside, look how sparse some of those vine plantings are, because they probably lost a lot of vines over time. And so they're rehabilitating some of these sites. Some of them, as you look at this hillside, they're just fallow, and that might just be, hey, you know, that one site just is not working out too well. But right here, this thing is pretty, you know, is flourishing, and I'm not sure what time of the year we're looking at here, but very different results between this one and this one. So here we've got a very big commitment in the vineyards to biodynamics, which Peter would like to hear. Peter's vineyards in Santa Barbara, where he is one of the few vintners to check a lot of boxes in the organics and sustainability space. He really likes to see vineyards that are making efforts in that direction. And here, these guys are really going after it with biodynamics, which is Rudolf Steiner was the kind of the developer of the concept, and it's really about creating an ecosystem, so self-sustainable ecosystem of a vineyard that can really kind of continue to thrive and not need a lot of inputs, and yet the outputs are not destructive either. And the vineyard actually ingests its own outputs, and they use the waste product as mulches, and so it's a very big system of biodynamics. Many things are required to be able to be considered biodynamic. The winery is a small part of the complete farm, and they do raise animals and have complete system where there's use of the animals in the vineyards. No machines in the vineyards. The animals are the machines, and they graze and they leave behind some helpful matter, but they also may use animals to plow and or to move things through the vineyards. So animals play their role. Produce over 300 plots, so this is a pretty significant effort for this region, and a big commitment. And another reason to be bullish is because a very successful family has moved into town and has really come in with some big time intentions. I'm sorry, it's flipping back and forth. It'll do that. Let's go. I was there. Okay, back. So the this village right here, Corleone, and I'm hoping I get that pretty close, is one of the higher elevation spots, and also some of the more at elevation, you're looking at thinner soils, you're looking at more rocky minerality, and so you're getting the most complex soils. And so this is where the Pétalos brand, who is owned by Palacios, and their commitment over in their other holdings, they've got a lot of familiarity with working with very rocky, high mineral soils. So that's what they were looking for, and that's what they found in this particular zone. Now, Priorat is quite different, but also in Spain, and the grape varieties there tend to be Syrah, Grenache, and about a dozen other grape varieties that they'll Carignan that they'll use in Priorat. This grape, the soils in the area just felt kind of similar, so that's why this family decided to invest here. They saw the potential, and I'm happy that they did, because they're definitely bringing a better product to the marketplace. The packaging is spectacular, and their financial ability to make something significant will only improve the category.
And I see this wine a lot. What's the production of it? How many cases a year?
I'm not sure if we've got that full number in total production, but this is a definitely a significant effort. They were ranked in the top 100 wines of the world by the Wine Spectator on a couple of occasions with this wine. So, and to make it onto that list, you need to have a little bit of brand penetration. People need to be able to find it. but let's see if the slides give me a number here. I don't remember seeing a number, but
I mean, it's at all the major wine stores in LA, and you usually see it at Whole Foods too. So I figured if it has that kind of penetration in LA, it must be kind of all over the map.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason is just because the market is enjoying this wine. They do bring it. I mean, the package that you're looking at is really beautiful, really well done. It's got a great history of top scores. 93 points is no slouch, and to be able to carry that in your store around $20, there's not many wines that can check all those boxes and stay around $20. So I think the value proposition is really carving the path and opening it up, the market. Once people taste this wine, they'll go out and taste other ones that they haven't heard of before. That's where I'm at personally. This is the wine that introduced me to the category. So you need someone with leadership to kind of carve that path. I don't care what region of the world you're in and what grape variety you're out promoting. But having a good leader will help raise all boats in that harbor. So that's what this Palacios family has been able to do here, and really their emphasis on high quality, their practices. Of course, you're also talking about Spain, where it's very likely that they went to the local government of this town and literally convinced the town, the region, to give some financial incentives, because the Spanish government has had to do that to create jobs, to create investment opportunities. Because where are you going to put your money? Someplace where it's difficult, or someplace where they might incentivize you to do it. And so the stories are numerous in Spain, where if you've got a little bit of a track record, you can get the land, if not for free, you could get some financial support from the local region. So they probably came in here with both guns loaded and were able to really make a statement. And when you have that type of support, you can take more risk too. And the biodynamics is certainly a big step. They brought their expertise and their ideas, long-term commitment, built an amazing world-class facility. Be able to make some world-class wine, you need to have a facility to do that. Here's a member of the family. Let me show a quick video with the importer and give us a little bit more texture. Here's a video with John, our importer. This is imported by what's called Rare Wine Company, and they import some of the better producers. All right, so now we're moving to the Palacios family, and we're going to learn a little bit about Mencia from another producer. This is probably the first producer that I ever tasted Mencia with. And on the Zoom now, we have John Silcox. He's the Western Regional Manager for Rare Wine Company, and they're a really important importer, and they bring in some really top efforts. I've got a few of their different top producers across their portfolio, but this is a really important version of Mencia, and we're going to get it firsthand from John. And welcome, John.
Thanks for having me.
How long have you been with Rare?
It will be 2 years, and amazingly enough, it'll be 2 years in July.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Have you been to Spain to hang out with these guys?
You know, it was all scheduled, and then the world kind of turned upside down. So I have not been yet, but the hope is in the near future we'll be over there and hanging out with Ricardo. That would be fantastic. I have been to Spain. I lived in Spain for a while, but not in this climate.
What part of Spain did you live in?
I was in Valencia, so spent half a year in Valencia going to the university there. It was a lot of fun.
That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, it was.
I have been to Castile Leon, but I don't. I won't pretend to know anything about the topography of where they're growing this grape or the type of microclimates that they're looking for. But over the last 10 years, I've seen this variety become more and more important, and quite honestly, I've seen better and better examples. And even in this particular bottling, the quality just continues to refine, the package continues to refine, and I really think this category is becoming really exciting, and I think it has the potential of being one of the greatest wines of Spain. And so that's why we're gathering today, and I want to show off a couple of cool examples. And this is definitely one of the leading brands. I know that this wine has been listed in the Wine Spectator Top 100 and received a number of awards that kind of justify the category for others as well, bringing more, rising all boats in the harbors, so to speak. But what can you tell us about this producer?
Would it be okay if I just gave some background on the grape itself, or have you guys covered that already?
Sure. Why don't you go in any format you wanted to present in here? I'm giving you free reins, so please.
Excellent. Well, yeah, just a little background on the grape itself. What's interesting about Mencia, or Mencia as people pronounce it in Spain, is for a long time it was kind of flying under the radar, and now it's kind of having a resurgence, a good one at that. And the interesting thing about that is that all kind of revolves around farming practices these days. The grape typically only grows in Spain and Portugal, the lion's share being in Spain. The little bit that does grow in Portugal is on the northern end of the country, and it's actually known as Jaén, Jaen in Portugal. It's still, the argument still goes, like, did it originate in Spain or did it originate in Portugal? And what we anchor on is the fact that the monks brought it over from Portugal into Spain. There's about 22,000 acres planted on the Iberian Peninsula, and I'm sure there's more. It's an approximate number. There's more and more being planted each day. Interesting thing about the grape in the past, when I had mentioned earlier about farming, the grape in the past was very much overcropped. There's some vigor there, so as a result of that, it was more about yields than it was about quality. So as a result of that, the grape would typically, the wines would be pale in color. They'd be, have some green herbal notes to them, and there was a thinness on the palate. There wasn't a lot of texture. Fast forward now to, today, and people like Descendientes that we're talking about, and wines like Pétalos, and things have changed drastically for the better. How have they changed drastically? So vine age these days has definitely worked in favor for the variety. There's a lot of old vines that are being resurrected and farmed appropriately. A lot of growers these days also realize that higher altitude plays really, really well with this grape. And along with that high altitude hillside site. So this grape does really well on steep hillsides and on slate and schist soils. So that's a big piece of the change in direction with this grape, and lower yields too, and just farming and creating really, really healthy ecosystems within the vineyard itself, and the locations of the vineyards. So it's moved in a really, really interesting direction, and you're seeing Mencia, a lot more Mencia in the market these days, because the quality.
You're cutting out just a little bit.
Lastly, the grape. Is that better?
I just kind of faded out for a second. I saw your lips moving.
Can you hear me now? Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Good old technology, right?
Yeah.
So to tie that into Pétalos, as we're talking about now, Pétalos started in 1999. So Ricardo and Alvaro, a lot of times people ask, what does the J stand for? And the J stands for Jose, which is Alvaro's father. And the first vintage was 1999. information there. But these guys, I would put a stake in the ground and say that these guys are the benchmark producer for Mencia. This is the place, in my opinion, where you start. And then you can kind of venture off and go and find, other growers that are doing interesting things with the grape itself. But if you're looking for textbook example of Mencia from Bierzo, starting with Descendientes without a doubt is the way to go. What's amazing about these guys is the holistic approach that they take in the region. They were looking, Alvaro, before he started his pre-Iraq project, he was looking high and low, and Bierzo really caught his attention on this because of what I had mentioned before about the steep hillsides, slate and schist soils, old vines. He saw a lot of potential there. And when Ricardo finished up working in Bordeaux, these two came together for a partnership, and as I mentioned before, 1999 was the first vintage they started. Everything is farmed organically and biodynamically. He goes an extra step on this and actually is very much a teacher and instructor in the region itself. And he actually teaches a lot of other growers outside of grape growing, other fruit growers like orchards and such, how to farm appropriately, if you will, organically, biodynamically as well, because he's looking at the region as a whole, regardless of what they're farming. Like he definitely believes in the greater good. I always like to mention that because I think it's very interesting, and it's very much a way in which people don't necessarily approach wine in general. Wine is very much about vineyards and that's it, but this is like him zooming out and being like, well, what's better for the people that surround this region that are all over, and what can I do to make a bigger impact than just a bottle of wine? So I thought that was quite interesting.
Cool.
Some nice shots of Ricardo right there.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting what you said about the schist and granite soils, because that's what these guys kind of farm up in Priorat, right? And they're looking for
exactly
those liquid soils, and so they find another grape variety that also responds to that type of rocky minerality. And here, the purity of Mencia is what I like about it. And am I saying it correctly, Mencia?
Yeah, I mean, the Spaniards would say Mencia, so you pronounce it so Mencia.
Mencia, yeah.
Yeah.
Good. And the purity of it is to me, it's almost got like a Burgundian characteristic, whereas, you might be a little more Rhôny up in Priorat. There's something very singular here, and very focused, and allowing for that voice to come kind of the soil and of the place to really shine through. And the two versions that we're tasting today in this program represent kind of a span of the spectrum of this grape variety in the place. And so we're having a lot of fun with this grape variety, and this is a leader in the category. Are there any particular nose elements that you think we should be looking for when we're smelling and tasting this particular wine?
Yeah, I know for sure. I mean, Mencia is definitely, it can be an aromatic grape. And, what people usually equate Mencia to, or is more along the lines of like Cabernet Franc or Pinot Noir. I mean, there's a lot of floral elements to it. It's a red fruity grape. It can move more towards red fruit to darker fruits, depending on how the grape is handled in the cellar itself. But what's really nice about it are those floral elements, and underneath those floral elements are very much there's some herbal components to it too, and as I said, those kind of red and blue fruits that you're looking for. And then in on the palate too, it kind of mirrors the fruit profile that I discussed, and typically, medium plus acidity to the wine and lower tannin, depending on the grower that you're working with. Some people include stems, some people don't. Some people, do a little bit of carbonic to give it a little little bit more pop and make it a little bit lighter. It all depends. The Pedalos that you are tasting or experiencing that we're talking about right now just uses a little bit of stem inclusion, but no carbonic on the wines.
Cool, that's great. And what about the oak program here? Are we fermenting in stainless steel and then moving it to foeder or small barrique? What is the regimen for this wine?
So this wine is done in large upright wood casks. Fermentation happens there, and it's about 10 months of élevage post, again in large casks. They're always looking to make this wine the most approachable out of the gates. They do some single vineyards and another wine, a village wine called Corrion as well. But this wine is all about instant gratification and just showing all of its colors right out of the gates. Not to say that 3 to 5 years, if you put some down, the wine won't benefit from age, but it's very much about drink now, enjoy.
Mm-hmm. And in this category, there's a number of small import wines, low yields, and seeing Robert Parker scores on some of these wines too, as we see this little kind of recap here at the bottom of the screen of yours showing some 97 plus wines. Of course, that is a magnum size bottle of 2018 75, but some really special bottlings, and so that's what kind of has been catching my eye, is that they are starting to really focus on elevating the category, and yet this kind of entry level effort from a really top producer is the wine that you're going to find in better retail environments, better restaurant environments, and it really does deliver a great value proposition. And I think it's a category to know about and watch. And I thank you for bringing it to us tonight. And we're gonna drink this up and enjoy with our group. And I can't wait to do some more business with you.
Thanks for having me, Ian. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John. I'll stop it right there, and I appreciate you coming on this. All right. So, I hope you guys are enjoying the Pedalos. It definitely a nice ambassador for the category. There are, like I said, many different single vineyard, old vine sites and things like that if you want to continue to explore the Mencia grape variety and see where it could go with its potential. As we move into our new location, we'll definitely find a few more SKUs. Maybe it'll be some higher end versions that we can start to offer, because I always like to find things like this that are a little bit unique. Those higher end versions, there's only a few cases that come into the country. Rare is a very good retailer up in Northern California, and they do sell all the wines that they import themselves. They kind of sell them to us retailers probably very close to retail, so we can't compete with them and some of their retail prices. They have some really good prices on their stuff that make it very tough for us to make money on, but they do a really good job, and they have some really interesting products that you want to carry. So I carry quite a few of their wines, and I love the different renditions that we get from the Palacios family. I have a pre-arrived from them as well. The value proposition is so good, and the brand name and all that they stand for is really important. You can trust this brand. You can trust this family, their ethos, and I think the wine shows in the glass really well. And I'd love to know in the chat box maybe which you preferred. Did you like it with a little bit of age, or did you like it a little younger and fresher? And which one's showing the best for you tonight? They're very similar on price point. All those that are on our Zoom tonight will get a special discount offering on these wines. And it'll keep our price probably the best in the country with our little discount. And so if you haven't already joined our membership, you don't even have to be on this Zoom tonight. Members get the offering twice a week, and we do move the discount around a little bit to offer different things, different opportunities. So members can just look at the Zoom's recap at the end of the Zoom and see a different buying opportunity if there's anything that you might need. Getting a little bit of feedback here. I know that Peter asked about Mencia in the U.S. I have not come across any. Doesn't mean that someone out there isn't making a small production to test it yet, but I didn't find any data when I searched in Wine Searcher or other places to see if there's anyone that's carrying a Mencia wine that's available for sale anyway. But people do take some chances and plant little grape varieties here and there, and that's why we get Grenache in Santa Barbara and other places. So we'll see. All right, we got a bit of a mixed vote. 2 votes for number 1, 2 votes for number 2. So that's nice. I think they both have a little different angle. The older wine with the 2013 maybe just a little bit less fruit oriented and a little bit more nuanced by its age, and I think it has a little bit more of a depth to it, whereas I think the Pethalos is a little bit more fresh and soft and has maybe a little bit more of a feminine elegance to it. And the first one's a little more rustic and raw, and I think they both have a really cool moment. I would have a hard time picking a favorite myself. I prefer a world with both of them in the glass at the same time if possible too, side by side. So that's what I like to do. Any other comments or questions that we can dig into? And I'd love to hear some feedback.
Yeah, and I've had this bottle of the Pethalos open for 2 hours, and I tried it at the opening, and now it's I can really sense the cherryness and the fruit forward type of feel, and also the little flinty sense of it. But it's delicious. It's the first time I'm trying this particular varietal.
Yeah, I'm impressed by you, Hector. You like bold power, and this is a very delicate, flower. And
I want to call it sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely there. So that's cool, and I believe it represents a really great option for not if everything's big and powerful, you can maybe miss some of the tender things there. So this wine could soften you up a little bit, Hector.
I need it.
I agree.
Ian, I have a question. I think it's Pethalos, is that correct?
Your guess is as good as mine. I think so. Yeah, Pethalos.
The Pethalos. What is that predominant aroma? I mean, it's big. Whatever it is, it's unique, and I haven't had this before. Pomegranate, maybe?
Yeah, I think I saw some notes about pomegranate. So by power of suggestion, I think you can definitely get there. But the very first thing I pay attention when I smell, I just really smell that stony minerality just kind of screaming out of the glass. And and through my reading, it looks like there's a lot of granite. And if you can start to think granitic smells when you smell this thing, you can really kind of pick up on that. And you'll smell that in the next time you smell wines of the world, wherever you are, and even say, is there granite? Because you're going to smell that anytime that there's granite. Granite is really impressible on the wine. The second thing, and I see it in the chat box being screamed by a couple of people, are that cherry character. And so, you know, where are you in the cherry spectrum here? I think it's kind of on the dried cherry edge for me, but some of you might, you know, have a cherry that you equate it to, but it's almost like a cherry fruit roll-up kind of a thing. It's got kind of that cherry paste, cherry skins, and then, but also the pomegranate, which is, I think, kind of it persists in that color saturation too. I almost taste pomegranate. I smell cherries, and I taste some pomegranate, and I also kind of in there. I'm still in the strawberry state of mind because I've been buying my Harry's berries. Only a couple more weeks at the farmers market to give away a lot of your money for the strawberries. They get a premium on these things, but they're so good. And when you open up the box of Harry's berries, they're the best strawberry ever. And they only last a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And they're quite expensive. You get them at the farmers market. When you open up that box, you get that fresh fragrance. They're perfectly ripe. They're not picked for the grocery store processing and all that stuff, where they underpick them. They're like deep red, and they have this amazing fragrance and flavor profile. And there's particular species that are very delicate, and that's why they don't go through the grocery store chains, because they just get pulverized. So I think it's I can't remember, Godiva, something like that. Somebody knows. It's a particular type of strawberry. But I really like that notion on the nose too. A little bit of that floral, like you're walking into a garden. And I'm smelling for tomato. I don't really get that, like tomato leaf, but I do get kind of a nice element of, you know, walking into a garden and smelling kind of a potpourri of different aromatics from the garden. But that stony minerality is the first thing that is hitting me in the face. And it's doing it in a nice, subtle way, with that fruit being right behind it. Everything about this wine is balanced and pretty, and you can pretty much imagine a couple of glasses of this going pretty fast, because it is so light and refreshing and stealth. And goes with so many different foods. I'd love to have this, in fact, at this time of the year. Spring, the vegetable garden is starting to come into play. You're moving into, there's a lot of root vegetables still, a lot of stews are still being, like braised meats, a lot of like beef bourguignon, things like that would be really fun with this type of dish. I'd love it with lamb. I'd love to do like a lamb shank with this wine. I think that some lamb chops would be really good, just simply grilled. I told a story before. Every time I think about Spain, we visited. In fact, it was in Castilla y León, and this young lady was receiving us. Her parents and grandparents purchased this piece of property, and so she welcomed us. Stunning, beautiful young lady. And she, all the group was sitting around. We were about a dozen people. We were sitting around the table watching her speak, and she speaks, kind of a broken English. And she's beautiful when all the ladies are saying how she's so beautiful. And she's cooking lamb chops for us on a fireplace filled with little cuttings from the vineyard. And so she's using these vine trimmings to cook the lamb chops. Hot flame, pretty quick. She puts it in a little basket, and it's got kind of a little lid on it. She puts it on the fire, She roasts one side, she turns it over, roasts the other. But her silhouette in the fireplace was, Hector, you would have had the camera out for sure. She was quite impressive, and those were the best damn lamb chops anybody's ever had. And they would absolutely be sensational with this wine.
Time for dinner.
Makes you hungry. Lee, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. These are delicious.
Very nice.
Really love the potatoes. You're inspiring me to go back to Spain.
Yeah, well, we'll get there. Yeah. Alicia, thank you for joining us tonight. Are you up in Ojai? Looks like you're enjoying it's not a fireplace, just candles. Okay. Nice. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining us. We've got some wonderful programs coming at Zoom into Wine, and we are continuing trying to deliver a lot of value here. Tonight, you got these 2 bottles included in a $50 Zoom. Includes delivery, and we really want to deliver that type of value proposition for you as much as possible. Coming right down the pipe, some new things that I want to show you. Let me open that up and go there. Let's hope this works. That's not going to work. There's a Zoom update I guess I need to make that work. So give me a second. There we go. Boom. There we go. All right. Zoom into Wine. So this coming Wednesday, we're tasting with some of the nicest people you've ever met in Santa Clara. And these folks have really built some beautiful wineries, small producers, not commercially available. They're all going to be live on the Zoom with me. We're taking a virtual visit to Santa Clara. You can order the tasting kit and get a taste of all 3 of these wines, or you can get the bottle kit. Really good value, and I'd love for you to join us for the 31st. We deliver again on Tuesday. We have plenty of time to get that to you. Next Saturday, we're kind of doing the same thing. We're going to be up in that same neighborhood. We're going to take a virtual visit to Paso Robles, and I've got 3 awesome brands from Paso, Thatcher, Law, and Hammer Sky. And in fact, the Thatcher wine just got 94 points today. The Law Estate wine's 96 points. And we've got the winemakers on both those Zooms, so really, really fun. Next week, we're going to Italy, and we're going to take a tour there. We're going to meet a family that's been making Chianti Classico for 700 years. We're going to be hanging out with Bindi Serengati. I will tell you, it is my favorite Chianti Classico producer. And we're going to have Master Sommelier Josh Orr on the Zoom with us, tasting with us. But I'm going to record a little session with the family, and we'll learn about their historic brand. We're going to taste both a Chianti Classico from their brand, but also we're going to taste the Selection Gran Selezione, which is one hell of a wine. This is the new foray for Chianti Classico to elevate the wines, really their best wines, Gran Selezione, and that's going to be a 2015 and the 2016 Chianti Classico. So pretty impressive wine lineup. I'm sure you're going to like those. And they've been top performers on our website because they're not available in a lot of places. A little teenier producer, but really good, I got to tell you. And then we're going to do a little Bordeaux blind tasting very soon, 89 versus 09. Only a couple of tickets left on that one, by the way. We'll have James Ontavares, Native 9, doing a vertical tasting with us from 12, 13, and 14, discussing the difference a year makes in Pinot production. And if you've never tried Native 9, get ready. These are really, really killer Pinot Noirs. We're going to do a virtual visit to Monterey. We're going to hang out with some of the best producers in Monterey. And then our marquee event for the month of April is our Stars of Italian Wine. And I would like to encourage you to get involved early because the price points are much more aggressive. We're able to package this thing both nights for $95. That's a Wednesday night and a Saturday night. We're going to have all these winemakers on the Zoom. We're going to talk with my buddy Alberto Chiarlo, Giovanni Folinari, the Moretti family making 2 killer wines. We're going to go also to Sardinia and back up into Tuscany again for just a really, really top house night. And then night 2, another set of awesome producers tasting wines like Vermentino from Sardinia. We'll go down to Sicily for a little Norello Marscalese. We'll head up to Piedmont for a little Gattanara. We'll head over to Tuscany for Vino Noble, the latest Brunello release from Col d'Orcia, and then blow your mind with this top-end Master Bernardino Tarazzi Radici. This is just insane Aglianico. It will melt your mind. So join us. You can do the bottle kits. Our super deal until April 1st. They're below cost until April 1st. Prices are valued over $300 at full retail, so you could jump on those if you want to join us. With that, thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's presentation on Mencia. And if you would like to stock up on these wines, an email is coming to you in a moment with a great value proposition. You buy it tonight, you're going to get a nice discount. If you can't get the discount to work on your computer, buy it anyway, and I'll make sure you get it. We'll fix you up later. Have a good night, everybody, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon.
We enjoyed it. Thank you.
Really great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Don't forget the video link too. You're going to send.
I will do that. Absolutely.
Hasta la vista.